G'day battlers, today we're going to be covering my run through the Durban Special Championship where I was able to finish in 3rd place, giving me 300 championship points and enough to secure my invitation to the Pokemon Go World Championships. Super stoked about that, but we'll go through the battles today. Now on the main channel, I actually covered the winning run from DURBAN. That'll be linked down in the description down below. I'll also link to the G'day Battlers podcast where I sort of gave a broader, lengthier discussion of sort of my run through Durban, or I guess my experience attending Durban. Today we're going to be focusing in on the battles using my team in the bottom right hand corner, and you can see that we're sort of just skipping through some of the battles here because as you can see with the team in the top right hand corner, they weren't all the most competitive because essentially in this 8-person tournament there were 3 hardcore Go players including myself. There was one a trainer, Detective August, who you might remember if you saw my Johannesburg video, because we sort of I guess faced in both tournaments. He's like not a hardcore guy, he's there as a VG player's dad, but he's he jumped in, he gave it a go, he had a full like rocked out team, and honestly he played pretty well in Johannesburg as well. And then to round out the 8 players, there were 4 TCG players who just didn't really have anything else to do. So they jumped on in and, they helped us out because it meant that we actually hit the sort of kicker so that 3rd and 4th place did get championship points. So a massive thank you to Duty the Third, for example, because he helped me secure the invitation to the Pokemon Go World Championships with his mascot of Caterpie. But let's take a look at my team in the bottom right hand corner because this team was given to me by Ashton Ash, constructed by Iamero. And he ran it the exact same weekend that I was playing in Durban. Ashton Ash was playing in Portland, and he was able to secure a 4th place finish. So kind of cool that we both ended up in the top 4, but hey, we may have missed the championships on both fronts. But regardless, let's take a look at the team. So we have Shadow Lapras, is a little bit of an aggressive Pokemon, a bit of a striker, as Mikey Morgs would say. We have Shadow Drapion, who is kind of the star of the show. The aim is to sort of get a little bit of an energy advantage and then just sort of push through your opponents, similar to how Primeape sort of worked for me in Johannesburg. Credilli, in my view, is actually the ultimate safe swap in the current meta in Might and Mastery, which I guess isn't the current meta, in a 24 hours, but still, at least for the last 3 months, I actually think that Credilli is a very strong safe swap, because really, you sort of beat everything as a safe swap except for fighters and some poison types like Clodsire, for example. You've then got Claydol as the sort of necessary ground damage to sort of fight up against, the Stunfisks and the Drapions running around as well. And then we have Azumarill as a bulky water type and Corviknight as a Pokemon that not very many people respect, but you need to because it is a very strong Pokemon. It's a very powerful Pokemon. It can sort of help to fill some gaps that other Pokemon might not. Originally, Tinkaton was actually on this team instead of Corviknight, but ended up getting swapped out for Corviknight and sort of giving a little bit more jump luff coverage as well. But essentially, this was the squad of 6. I'm sure I can talk about it a little bit more in the future if you are interested. I imagine this sort of grand Wolfie VGC-esque sort of breakdown of the team if I did a little bit better. But still, we end up with a 3rd place finish and take out game number 1, round 1 up against Duty the Third, securing us a spot in the top 6. And now we have to face Dubbilly Bravbird, who is one of the SoCal Swablues, one of the sort of 3 hardcore Go players that are sort of pinned down. Or I guess, not name dropped even, that I mentioned, I guess is what I should be saying. You can see his team here with a Shadow Feraligatr, Golisopod, Diggersby, Shadow Jumpluff, Stunfisk, and Tinkaton. Now, most of these are sort of standard movesets, but what I didn't notice on the team sheet is that this Golisopod is running Fury Cutter. And that might not sound weird to you because we're about to head into this new season where Fury Cutter Golisopod is going to be awesome, but you have to remember, this is Might and Mastery. Fury Cutter Golisopod is not the way. Shadow Claw was the main guy. And so I didn't see it. And I guess you'll sort of see that as the battles go on. So jump into game number 1, and again, I'm sort of leaning a little bit on my Drapion and my Credilli as the sort of big bad Pokemon. Now, Drapion in the lead against Shadow Feraligatr is a losing matchup unless you can get a bait with Aqua Tail or you come in with a little bit of energy, because basically we pace to crunches at the same rate that they pace to Hydro Cannons, and they are going to win Charge Attack priority. So straight away, we decide to go for the Aqua Tail bait, and if we get the bait here, which we do, and now all of a sudden, this is a winning matchup for us. We can just go straight crunch, we'll outpace the Feraligatr to Hydro Cannons, and we can just match shields all along the way. So we go for the crunch, and Feraligatr survives, and I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. And so in the moment, I'm kind of like, heck, well, I guess we just go for energy on Credilli, I guess. We use it as a safe swap, but this isn't really what we wanted. I'm actually bringing in Claydol, and they swap into the Diggersby. I suppose we're sort of keeping that Credilli in case it is, maybe that Golisopod, for example, where Claydol might just get stuck in the back. And so we decided to go for the Ice Beam here just to do some chip damage. I'm not really, like, I think there's reasonable play that you could have just farmed up to the energy and then swapped into Diggersby, but I think that I'm sort of playing this strategy where Claydol sort of never gets shields, and so I was sort of happy to just soak a bunch of damage in there and just set up Credilli for the ultimate amount of success, because by going for Charge Attack priority here on the Grass Knot, we sort of force the issue a little bit and sort of make sure that Credilli is going to be a good spot in a pretty good position into the back line no matter what it is. It is actually the Jumpluff, and so now I'm like, okay, this would have been where that Ice Beam on Claydol might be pretty useful, but we do have the shield advantage, and so maybe we can make something work here. We go for the first Rock Tomb. We will be able to tank a move from Jumpluff, and then we can get another Rock Slide. We do have to burn a shield at some point, but I decided to let the first one through, hoping it was an Aerial Ace bait. Unfortunately, it was Acrobatics, and we don't survive. So all of a sudden, it's like, have we thrown? But yeah, unfortunately, this game doesn't quite go our way, which is all good. At this point, I did a sort of look at the bracket, and I was like, okay, even if we lose this round against a Blue Bravbird, I'll have to face Detective August in the losers bracket and then a TCG player to secure a spot in the top 4. So I wasn't insanely stressed, but game number 2, we sort of called that Unova Stunfisk is going to be around, and here is that Golisopod, and I only noticed now that it is Fury Cutter Golisopod, and I'm like, oh heck, I do not know this matchup. Turns out, Fury Cutter Golisopod is actually a little bit worse into Claydol than Shadowclaw, but in my head, I was like, no, this is probably worse. I don't know the stats, I don't know what's going on, I don't know the matchups anymore. So I go for the first Rock Tomb, and I decide to just let him take us down, take the 1 shield advantage, but he does have a lot of energy advantage. So not how I would have played it out if I'd, given it some, I guess, study on what Fury Cutter Golisopod can do. But now in the Drapion matchup, I decide that I can tank an Aquajet, and I think I decide here that Feraligatr actually comes in, and now we're in sort of an energy advantage spot, so we can just safely go straight crunch, but I'm actually going to decide that I'm going to put all of my chips onto Credilli. Credilli is going to be my main guy from here on out. I'm going to get a farm down on Feraligatr. It's going to be okay into the Golisopod, especially with shield advantage, and then no matter what is in the back, like even if it's a Tinkaton or a Jumpluff, I'm not too stressed about where I might end up being. So we get a little bit of farm there. Energy advantage is really nice. Now we're not as bad into the Jumpluff, and he actually swaps into the Unovan Stunfisk. So we did sort of, I guess, call that a Unovan Stunfisk was going to appear. We went ABA strong into Stunfisk, and so now we land a Grass Knot. We can actually tank a move from Stunfisk pretty comfortably. I think we can take 2 pretty comfortably. So we'll let the first one come through. Yeah, that's insanely good for us. We have to recognize that there is a Golisopod in the back. I actually go for the Rock Slide bait here. The Rock Tomb bait. And I do get the shield out of it. So I'm pretty stoked about that, because a 2-0 shield advantage in the back would have just been hard winning. So to Billy Bradford, I guess he's sort of forced to shield a little bit, because otherwise he does just lose. But now we're able to get the Rock Tomb off here. This is going to be enough to secure the KO against the Golisopod. And then it's just going to be that Stunfisk in the back. We just need to get to 1 move. We have a shield as well. I think the Stunfisk has a little bit of energy, so I think they'll be able to get to 2 moves, but we can actually tank 1. It doesn't look like we can tank 1 because we're getting pretty low, but you saw how much damage it did before. We should survive a Mud Bomb. We'll get our Grass Knot off, and that'll sort of bring us to a 1-1 in game number 2. Really close stuff, actually. We barely have any HP, but we do secure the win in the end, which means that we do go into game number 2. This was a little bit of a lag fest. This was actually game number 6, if I'm being honest with you. We had to do quite a few rematches, but I guess as the sort of official game 3, we have Lapras into Tinkaton. Tinkaton, not a Pokemon we've seen yet, and Lapras, not a Pokemon we've used yet. The Sparkling Aria is really just sort of, I guess, a bit of a pressure Pokemon, where we're sort of trying to get shields out of our opponent while not necessarily burning them ourselves. So we sort of call the Bulldoze straight away, and, happy days for us. But now I'm kind of like, okay. I think if we just burn a shield here in the play rough, we're probably not in a bad position, because we can at least sort of force the issue. They actually keep energy on Tinkaton and swap, so we decide to go for the Skull Bash onto the Golisopod, because and to be honest with you, I'm a little bit stuck. I don't necessarily want to swap into Drapion because we're behind energy. I don't necessarily want to swap into Credilli because I really don't know the Fury Cutter Golisopod matchup. I don't know how bad it is for me. Turns out it's pretty similar to the regular Golisopod, but I decide to, after charging up to the Sparkling Aria, swap into the Drapion, and I figure that the Sparkling Aria in the back could be quite useful for me. And again, I'm kind of going like, okay, it might be Credilli hours to try and make something work, because I know there is that Diggersby in the back as well, and we get the defense drop on this crunch as well. In comes the Tinkaton, and I'm like, okay, we can throw the Aqua Tail, secure the KO here. If they bring Golisopod in, they will be able to take us down, but more than likely they bring in the Diggersby, get a little bit of energy on the farm down perhaps. They will have to eat. Actually, they swap into the Golisopod, so we just hard swap into Credilli. We still have 1 shield, and I'm kind of like, well, if it's Diggersby and Golisopod, This is probably a good time to shield against this Exeter. We'll go for 1 Bullet Seed, and I ended up over farming. I think it's because I didn't actually know the counts for Fury Cutter. It turns out, again, it is identical. I just didn't know at the time, unfortunately. And so they make a nice catch here with the Rock Tomb into the Diggersby, and all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, how do we do this? And so, again, a little bit of lag all around, but we decided to get the Grass Knot through on good timing, which I guess we weren't going for, and then I snipe with the Shadow Lapras. I get the Sparkling Aria. This will be enough to KO the Diggersby, and now it is all going to be that Goliath spot in the back. They're not going to get much farm on my Lapras, but unfortunately, I've got barely any energy on Credilli. I've got barely any energy on that Drapion, and so I'm like, okay, maybe I can get to a move on Credilli, or at least force the energy, and I just give them a free, 5 Fury Cutters of farm. And, it turns out even if I swapped into the Drapion, they would have got to a move first, and then they would have been able to Fury Cutter down my Credilli in the back. And so they're able to get the win there. And they sort of told me after, they were like, I sort of needed to bait out the snipe with the Lapras. If you sort of just stay in, you probably win that matchup. And so I was like, that's smart. But yeah, unfortunately, we do lose that one. The Fury Cutter Goliath Pod, as much as as far as strict matchups are concerned, it's almost the same as Shadow Claw. I didn't know, and I was so threatened by it. I didn't know what the counts were. I sort of learned, I sort of studied my team into this tournament very, not mechanically, but very black and white of how the matchups go. And so I guess I didn't build in enough study to be able to prepare on the fly for that sort of swap out, especially when I didn't notice it on the team sheet, which was a bit of a disaster. So we do end up losing the winners round 2, which does still mean, which is also winners semis, by the way, which is crazy in an 8-person tournament. But we go down into the losers bracket up against Detective August, someone that, I was very stoked to see, really happy to see him at the tournament. And, someone that I played back in Johannesburg as well. And he's actually running the exact same team from Johannesburg with the Swampert, Azumarill, Furret, Primeape, Alolan Sandslash, and Tinkaton. And if I win this battle, then I secure myself a top 4 placement, and I secure a place in the Pokemon Go World Championships. And so Lapras versus Primeape, not the worst matchup for the Lapras, because we are able to do a lot of Psywave damage. It is the regular Primeape, not the Shadow Primeape. So unfortunately, we're not doing as much damage. And they do actually go for the close combat there, which lets me Psywave all the way down. If they go for straight Rage Fist, it's actually a little bit worse for me, but because they went for the close combat, we're not too bad of a spot. We get the Skull Bash, and we land it into the Swampert, which is terrible for Detective August. It just means that we're going to let this go. I think at this point, we can just bring in Credilli, go for the farm down, have an energy advantage, and be in a pretty good spot, because the Primeape is gone, and other than Primeape, Alolan Sandslash is sort of our biggest fear, and at least if it was the Alolan Sandslash, we would still be able to get to a Rock Tomb. I think Alolan Sandslash could have been a little bit tough for us, but it turns out it was the Tinkaton, and so we're sort of happy to just throw a few Rock Tombs in, expecting Detective August to just sort of straight through their moves. I wasn't sort of predicting that he would farm up a lot. And so I figured we'd stay in, go for the Rock Tombs, and then just clean up with Drapion in the back. It was basically my game plan. Actually, no, we're just going to swap into Drapion now. We're sort of going we need to burn shields at some point. So I think I'm just going in now because I'm like, well, at least I can sort of guarantee that I'm going to get 2 Aqua Tails off because we can take a Bulldoze. And then we'll go from there, I guess. We do actually get a Play Rough, which, yeah, it's fine at this point because Aqua Tail is going to be enough to weaken it right down, and then we can just Poison Sting down, I think. Okay, no, we don't actually get to, but, again, we have a Credilli in the back. Even if we survive the Bulldoze, we get the Poison Sting down, and that is game number 1. Game 2, we have the Lapras into the Furret. Not as good a matchup for Furret as you would hope it would be when you're the Furret player, just because if you do shield up the Trailblaze, which I'm hoping to do here, not too bad a spot. Actually baits me with the Swift though, which I should have known because Detective August does love his baits, and it does work out quite well for him quite often. So we swap into the Credilli now. Sort of happy to tank any moves from this Furret. I was expecting a swap out. It is just the Swift, and here comes that Alolan Sandslash. So I'm like, okay, this is where we really do have to sort of, make some things happen. So we get the first Rock Tomb debuff. I decide I'm going to go for another one here, and I'm kind of like, do I want to get this Rock Tomb off? Probably, I don't need it, but we survive anyway because of the Rock Tomb debuff on the first one. So we get to get one more off. We get a shield out of Detective August, and now we can swap into the relatively safe Shadow Lapras, where we can comfortably tank moves here. Go to the Ice Punch bait, which unfortunately doesn't work out for him, and now we get a Sparkling Aria with that Alolan Sandslash still hiding out in the back. Switch timer not quite up yet, so we're kind of just stuck in this matchup and we have to keep pushing through it. I know I can take a move here. It is the Bulldoze, and so we're just going to go for the Sparkling Aria. We did get hit with the debuff as well. And I kind of want to get out of this matchup, to be honest with you. So I catch the move into Credilli. Really nice play. And, all of this energy from Tinkaton going to go down. And now I'm just like, okay, there's an Alolan Sandslash, there's a Tinkaton, there's a Furret. I have a lot to deal with. I think I'm going to put my money on my Drapion to be able to do it. I'm going to go for the Aqua Tail before they get to a move. We've got a Protect Shield as well, and we get the Poison Sting down, which is huge for us. And so now it's just like, okay, well, Alolan Sandslash, we can just go for an Aqua Tail. It might not quite be enough because it is a regular Sandslash, but turns out it is enough. And now this is the Furret in the back, relatively low health. We go for a catch onto the Lapras, but they sort of need to throw their energy anyway. And so Drapion going to secure the game and again secure us a spot in the Pokemon Go World Championships. It may not have been sort of the toughest fight through to the top 4, but we made it all the same. Happy days. It could have been a lot worse if the bracket was sort of a little bit more. It is possible, if we got unlucky with bracket placement, that one of our sort of big 3, I guess I'll call us, might have been knocked out quite early. So luckily, that sort of hasn't happened. The sort of other 2 were playing in the grand final, the winners finals, and Billy Bravbird was actually knocked down into the losers bracket. So we're going into the top 4 match now, I guess fighting for top 3. And Havishim, again, sort of someone that's played PvP in the past, currently a TCG player. They had full double moved Mons, all meta Mons. The problem is, it's a little bit of an outdated team, and it is 5 times weak to Credilli. So you can sort of guess how this game is probably going to go. I'm going to cover them all though, because hey, this is the second channel. We've got time here, so subscribe to the PvP Josh channel if you haven't already, by the way. And again, it was really laggy while we were playing in Durban. Again, the fact that we had to play like 6 games, me versus Billy Bravbird, was pretty frustrating. But we got there in the end. I think we probably lost even amounts because I had a very good game that looked good for me. He had a good game that looked good for him, I guess. But regardless, we'll get through the lag eventually. I wasn't too stressed because I felt pretty confident in my Credilli here. So we're in the Zero Shield, we sort of Lapras down the Whiscash and then swap into the Drapion. And this is a foul play Dark Pulse Umbreon, which means that there is all resisted moves. There is nothing this Umbreon can do. And so really, I'm just going to keep throwing Aqua Tails and sort of, this is only, really, it's sort of 6 times weak to Credilli, and that Credilli can probably beat all 6 of these Pokemon. But in my head, I was like, well, Umbreon is the only Pokemon on the team that I can't do super effective damage to. So I'll sort of happily use up my Drapion here and sort of save my Credilli for the back line, whatever it may be, because I know that it's going to be a good spot and I'm not going to burn any shields on this Drapion. That is basically my game plan. Which is like, again, it was sort of a weird tournament in that when I was in these matches in the between facing Billy Bravbird twice, I was so unfocused in that, like, while I was playing these battles, I was sort of chatting to the other guys. Like, it felt like I was playing a local in so many ways. And I was just, I don't know if it was overconfidence, but I think it was sort of well-placed confidence, just because I knew how strong this Credilli was going to be. And something that really hits me going into the sort of, I guess, next matchup against Billy Bravbird again is that, I didn't expect this to happen, but my motivation just absolutely evaporated. Like, all of a sudden, I think because I sort of hit my goal, right? It's like, I hit championship points, I secured my world's invitation, and so all of a sudden, I wasn't that stressed. I wasn't that focused. I didn't care that much. I didn't really push, like, lag reviews for rematches and stuff. So it was unexpected, but I'm not like too upset by it to be honest with you. But like, I don't know. But we go into is this game number 2 with Lapras into the Whiscash again, which is, again, we're in a pretty strong position here. It's sort of hard to imagine us losing with Credilli being so strong. I don't think that, like, Lapras, I guess, the opposing Lapras could be a little bit rough in a scenario where we were burning shields. If for all of a sudden they could get an Ice Beam onto our Credilli, then maybe we would be in some strife. But Credilli, again, just looks so strong. All these guys were really kind as well, though. Havishim, being a South African local as well, he has actually got so many championship points by hitting top 4 that he's probably also, I think he has qualified for the World Championships by being top 5 on the what's it called? The MESA region leaderboard. So, congrats to Havishim for qualifying for Worlds as well. A little bit tougher in other regions, but still kind of funny that he's able to qualify as well. So this is, I guess, 2 Worlds qualifiers that are facing off in this particular matchup. But yeah, It's not too stressful. You can skip ahead if you want. I'll probably have the timestamps in the progress down below. I should have said that earlier, actually, but hey, you've made it this far. Again, it's second channel content, so it's fine. But we eat the Ice Beam onto the Lapras. We come back in with Credilli. We get the full farm down, and we're gonna have, we've got 2 shields and energy into a Mandibuzz in the back. There's nothing that can be done. So we will be going back into Billy Bradford's team, and this time because I've sort of been going back to back, I haven't exactly been studying what does Fury Cutter do. I very much should have. Again, this is sort of just my it's not giving up, but it was just my cooldown. The adrenaline was gone. It's all just I'm chill now, because I really should have looked up Fury Cutter to at least know that it's the exact same pacing and energy generation as the Shadow Claws. But yeah, I don't really have an excuse for not doing it. But we end up going in for, I guess, the losers finals, which does mean that it is a best of 5, and we get a pretty bad lead with Drapion into Diggsby. I've got the Credilli hard swap in the back because it is a really solid safe swap into Dilbili's team as well, and he lets me get a lot of energy on it, but it makes sense because he does have the Tinkaton coming in the back as well. I tried to get this Grass Knot into the Diggersby, so I guess he sort of gets me there. It felt like it wasn't a catch in that it was a little bit slow, but I was tapping on the move. It got there in the end, but we get the Rock Tomb off at least onto the Tinkaton. And now I have to sort of grapple with the fact that there is a Diggersby with a lot of energy in the back. My Drapion, obviously not going to love that at all. And my Credilli, not like it's terrible into Diggersby, but it's not awesome. And I sort of need my Drapion to actually be good into something in the back. And to be honest with you, with 2 ground types and some very aggressive Pokemon, plus Tinkaton that knows Bulldoze, it's sort of rare to get a dominant matchup for Drapion here. You really do need that energy advantage. And again, the lag was just insane. And this was this is sort of the moment where I was sort of I was sort of just a little bit I don't really care. I probably should have pushed to at least review it, because I didn't even watch the battles back. I was just you probably win anyway, which I don't know. It's sort of I don't know if it's a regret per se, because I don't really regret it in the sense that I sort of understand that I was sort of in a bad spot regardless, but still, maybe in another universe, but we'll play it out regardless. We have the Drapion into the Gliscod. We shoot up the Aquajet. And at this point, now that we're sort of at a little bit of we're on the back foot, they swap into the Diggersby, and now I'm yeah, we're in some trouble here. So I guess because now we're just going to have to eat a ton of energy. Even if we shield, we have to we know we're going to get hit by another one. So I sort of no-shield the Fire Punch, recognizing that. And I didn't tap the move, which I should have. And so now I'm what do we do now? And so we're going to go for the Aqua Tails here. The lag is so real. But I think maybe we're in a pretty bad spot here, and then Claydol is going to have to face against Gliscod in the back. We're down 2 shields. We can't win this battle. And so I think if we won switch advantage, maybe with the Credilli into the Tinkaton, then maybe we at least get to... I mean, to be honest, we didn't really have a good matchup for Gliscod, is the truth. So I guess that sort of was going to put us in a little bit of a struggle anyway, just because we weren't running a Lapras or an Azumarill, or... I mean, Azumarill's not that good, but yeah, we weren't really running a good... I don't think it was a good line of 3 when we knew that they were going to be running Gliscod. So that's probably a bit of a team comp decision mistake on my part. But, at this point, because it was a best of 5, because we've played a sort of 7 games because of that Game 6 best of 3 before, I sort of ended up going okay, I just need to start making some calls. And so I bring Corviknight in the back here with Lapras, and so we go Credilli into the Diggersby for the lead. Now they swap into the Gliscod, and again, the lag is kind of ridiculous here, but we get the Rock Tomb here, trying to push some pressure onto this Gliscod. We know that we have the Corviknight in the back that's going to be pretty decent into this matchup. They do have a lot of energy, but we can sort of just use this as a bit of a sponge. We'll be able to get at least 1 Sky Attack through, get that shield or get the KO on Gliscod, and either outcome I'm actually quite satisfied with, because again, our sort of strategy for the most part is really just saving our shields for the Pokemon that need it. Drapion, definitely one of the Pokemon that want it, I guess, not so much a need. So we go for the Sky Attack. They let us get the KO. And so they're going to swap into the Diggersby, which is a pretty reasonable swap because we don't really have a lot of pressure onto the Diggersby. We are doing a fair bit of damage with the sand attacks, but they're able to get the Fire Punch here, and we are just going to let it go. Because we know it's Gliscod is down, so the Diggersby, we don't know what's in the back, do we? Not quite. So the Lapras comes in, which I don't think he was expecting per se, but it's a pretty solid matchup into the Diggersby. And at this point, we're going to shield up the Scorching Sands, and I'm kind of okay, Tinkaton in the back. I think that I would prefer my Credillia to be up against the Diggersby, and so I'm just going to stay in with Lapras here, do as much Sparkling Aria damage as I can. We're just going to probably call the Bulldoze, and then maybe we consider shielding the player off after that, but I call it. And it is eventually the Bulldoze. We do get the defense debuff as well. The lag, again, hitting us like a truck. If this was a player that took us out, it might be a problem. And so I end up shielding. It's a Bulldoze. Again, I was sort of hands up-ish at this point. But we go for the Sparkling Aria. We do get that last Protect Shield from their end as well. I'm so like, okay, Credillia in the back, no shields into Diggersby. Not the worst matchup, not the best. I just need to be able to, like, they actually go for another Bulldoze here as well. And so we actually bank the Sparkling Aria. We swap into the Credillia, go for the Grass Knot here. I feel like that Sparkling Aria in the back is going to be quite helpful because I think we win Charge Attack priority into the Tinkaton. And now we can just, now that Diggersby is so low, I'm actually pretty confident for the most part because surely we can tank a Scorching Sands. We can try, we're not going to be able to Bullet Seed down by the looks, but even if we weren't, I think Lapras can come in, get one Psywave, and then throw the Sparkling Aria anyway. So, and we end up eating a Fire Punch. We throw the Rock Tomb here, and now it is just about throwing that Sparkling Aria in the back. So it's sort of GG's. We've sort of tied the series up 1-1 because this is definitely going to be enough to KO. And we sort of, I don't know if that was, I don't know if we waited a turn or what we did, but we end up getting the Sparkling Aria KO. And so game number 3, we are 1-1. Again, is a best of 5 set. We have the Stunfisk in the back, and I'm looking at my Corviknight in the back, and I'm like, we're a little bit ABA to this sucker. So we might be in some strife. Again, we were sort of going for hard calls at this point, hard line reads. And so the discharge comes through, and I'm just like, this is going to be a tough game for sure. So we'll do what we can. We go for the Sparkling Aria. And I'm kind of thinking what might be in the back. I'm really expecting Golisopod to basically come every single game at this point. He's sort of proven that it's quite strong, especially into the Pokemon I'm bringing. I don't really, again, have a hard counter. I had to sort of throw Corviknight at it to try and get the sort of hard counter in, but it was a little bit tough for me. So I'm kind of like, well, I guess we sort of need Corviknight for that one as well. He swaps into the Golisopod. I swap into the Corviknight. I'm like, all right, we can do this again. If we do end up going down in this matchup, like if they decide to burn a shield instead of letting the Sky Attack take them out, then we're sort of still like, well, our Credillia is still going to be quite strong going to the back line. We know there's Unova and Stunfisk that Credillia is going to be quite strong into, and my prediction is that it's probably Tinkaton in the back again. It could be the Diggersby, I suppose, but I was sort of thinking that it might be the Tinkaton because they already have the ground coverage in the Unova and Stunfisk. And so I'm like, well, we'll see what we can do because Credillia is not going to be awesome into that matchup either. So I'm kind of like, we might be in some trouble here. I actually shield up so that I can get the Sky Attack off, and then they catch into the Diggersby. And this is a bit of a tough spot for us to be because obviously this is going to do a lot of damage. It's not the Tinkaton. They've actually gone ABA grounds, but maybe that gives an opening to Credillia. It's a little unfortunate that we have no shields. And that lag doesn't really affect anything. I mean, we were both doing like bad move timing throughout the entire tournament because of the lag shenanigans. It was pretty rough to say the least. We were just on the store Wi-Fi and our data wasn't that good either because it was a bit of a concrete block. But we don't quite get the farm down, unfortunately, which means we're going to have to eat another move. We know that Unova and Stunfisk probably doesn't come in here, so I feel like they probably swap into the Golisopod. Well, it sort of depends on what they want to save, but I actually do swap into the Stunfisk. We swap into the Lapras to sort of just eat up the charge moves. I'm like, no, catch the move over here. We don't have energy. We eat the Mud Bomb. And now I'm like, okay, we have Credillia and Corviknight. We need to take out this Stunfisk. I feel like my Corviknight might not be able to Sand Attack down. We sort of have that stutter lag. I don't know if it sort of just threw in our Credillia against our will or what, but we end up having to eat another charge attack from the Stunfisk. We can tank it just like we saw a little bit earlier though. Oh, we can't tank it. Or the Golisopod comes in the snipe. I actually don't know what happened here. But it's sort of like, well, look, my logic was even if we get the farm down, maybe we still lose. I don't know. But yeah, the dog just wasn't in me. I wasn't pushing for rematches where I probably should have been. Or at least looking at the video from his perspective. It was a little bit dodged. But we are down 2-1. And so now we sort of need to push it. We need to win the next 2 games in a row. Bad lead, Credillia into the Golisopod, and we went double water in the back, the Azumarill and the Lapras, because I was kind of like, well, we should have some good coverage for the Diggersby back here. It'll be pretty decent into the Tinkaton. It'll be pretty decent if there's a Golisopod in the back. Unfortunately, it was just the Golisopod lead, where I was really sort of banking on it being like a Unova and Stunfisk. Again, the lag shenanigans, but they actually sort of, it was pretty bad, man. It was pretty bad. We caught up like a million bubbles in a few seconds. player off. Gonna go through here, but I'm kind of like, okay, how do I get myself out of this sticky situation? My Credilli is basically gone. I need to use my water types to get through any ground types. I'm actually quite satisfied with Azumarill versus Tinkaton. Like, this isn't I'm not too stressed about this one. Obviously, Tinkaton generally is sort of known as a core breaker to the sort of old Drapion Azumarill core that is so famous, but we just go for the player up here anyway. Take out the Tinkaton. And now I'm like, oh, okay. Golisopod comes back in. They probably just get a ton of farm. I probably should have swapped my Lapras here. I think. Well, I guess we catch the move on a Credilli. That's not too bad for us because Credilli wasn't going to be able to do too much for the rest of the game anyway. So we'll let them take us out. And I'm kind of like, well, I would have liked to bank a move on Azumarill, but I'll actually bring Azumarill back in instead of going like, okay, no, we can get the move here. Again, a little bit of shenanigans, but they do it just outpace the move because in my head, I was like, oh, we're only 2 bubbles away. We were 3 bubbles away. And now I have a Lapras up against a Golisopod with 2 shields and there's a Pokemon in the back as well. And so I'm like, how can I possibly win this battle? Maybe it's like, I don't know, Diggersby and he just lets me get a ton of energy. I don't know. But it turns out, it is the Diggersby, but we've got so much work to do. They've got 2 shields. This is pretty much GG's, which does mean that Billy Bravbird going to take us out 3-1 in this best of 5 set. And, hey, I've secured 3rd place in the Durban Special Championship. I would have liked to push for the championship title. I would have also liked to face Divishan because this team was a little bit tough to deal with. I didn't know, I didn't have a lot of experience with Unova Stunfisk, and I felt a little bit stuck. Like I just sort of needed to sort of get some energy before I see Stunfisk or get Credilli matched up against it, or Claydol, which was always a risk because they were bringing that Golisopod every single game. And so it was kind of like, it was a little bit tough for me, at least. I think, someone else with the team, say Ash and Ash, might do a lot better into this team than I did, but it is what it is. We get the 300 championship points, though, which secures me the World Championship invitation, which is still pretty cool. They haven't updated the leaderboard yet, but it should put me in 6th place on the Oceanic leaderboard. And I think I'm currently also number 1 on the, if there is an LAIC Travel Award in the sort of same build as there has been in this last season as well. So they haven't announced anything, though, so we'll see. But, with that said, this is a pretty long video for what was a pretty uneventful tournament. So thanks for watching. If you have watched this entire thing, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. If you want to hear the story about sort of why and how and what happened when I went to Durban, to get a Battlers podcast in the description down below. And if you want to see the winning run from Divishan, the first ever South African tournament winner, or sort of South, as in he is South African. He was a South African local. Obviously, Alan won last month in Johannesburg. But yeah, go watch that video as well. It'll be linked down below. And until then, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Bye.